Hello, hello. We are again here at the GCiers Podcast, now on our 7th episode. And today we have our lovely team here, as usual, with Emilie from... Emilie, where are you from?
Vancouver, Canada.
Oh, what's the reason you are smiling when you say Vancouver, Canada?
Andrew has said that I am actually a robot because I say the same thing every single time.
Every time we test the mics, I ask you where are you from, and you say exactly with the same voice, I am Emilie from Vancouver, Canada. So we are thinking about you are not real, Emilie. You are being made in Python or in another fantastic language. Okay, Vancouver, Canada. Thank you, Emilie, for introducing you again. And let's go to in the middle, not in the middle in Europe because I'm in Spain. I'm Andreu from the Liquid Galaxy project community, and I live and I do my stuff usually in Spain, Lleida. But let's go a little bit to the east, and I think, who's first? Merul or Janiru? Sri Lanka or India? Tick tack, tick tack. Who's first? Who's more near?
It's up to you.
It's up to me? Okay, Merul, introduce you.
Okay, hi, I'm Mirul. I'm from Chandigarh in India.
That's it. Simply. That's the way. That's the way. And you are not a bot.
Yeah, I'm not a bot. I can
bot.
say with quite confidence.
Okay, let's go to Sri Lanka. Janiru, it's up to you.
Hi, I'm Janiru from Colombo, Sri Lanka.
I don't know you, but I'm thinking about the same stuff. Let's repeat, just in case. Janiru, it's up to you. Present you again.
Hi, sorry?
Repeat again. Present yourself again.
Hi, I am Janiru from Colombo, Sri Lanka.
That's a bot, man.
Sounds like a bot.
You two are bots. You two are bots. I think Merul not, because Merul has he's showing our his living room, I understand, and he's at least different linens, and I mean I see differences in this room, but Emilie has always the same background, and Janiru has his digital artificial background. So I think we have two bots on this conversation.
Actually, my room is kind of messy, so I don't want to show it.
You know, guys, why I'm saying this, because let me tell you a batallita. I'm thinking about my colleague Cynthia Galvez. She's a programmer from Spain, an engineer from Spain, Zaragoza, that always says that I'm becoming a little bit old, and I explain a lot of batallitas. Batallitas are those kind of histories old people start to explain. How do you say this in English, Emilie? How will that kind of histories old people repeat?
Folk tales, I guess.
Folk tale? That's nice. I will try to remember the translation. I'm not pretty sure, but okay. So the question is that there is a very important website in US for technical news. I'm pretty sure you know the web is Wired. You know the magazine, magazine, Wired magazine. Merul, you know the magazine?
Yeah.
Janiru, you know about the Wired magazine? Please do not use the chat, Janiru, because we are live. Okay,
sorry,
so
Wired accidentally.
No problem. Wired magazine is one of the most important technical and geek, I would say, for geeks magazine in the world. So, and it's pretty old. I don't remember. The question is that in the past summer, where most of the people were at lockdown, still we are at lockdown in some places, sadly. So there is a meeting every week that all the main news writers of the editorial they make a meeting. And of course, they were in lockdown. They have to use Zoom, WebEx, Meet, or whatever system. So 30 persons every Monday have a meet to review what are going to be their stories every week. So every person was asked asked about what is going to be his history, what are they are gonna write this week. But not necessarily means that you have to answer, because sometimes you are inside a group, for example, and a group of persons do the same history. So what happens? Why I'm telling this folk tale? So I will send you later I will look for it. There was a very clever person there that started to play with artificial intelligence and the videos, and he recorded itself in several short videos doing different stuff like. And the question is that for 3 months he never attended personally the Monday meeting with the company. No one day in 3 months. That's 12 meetings, and no one in the 30 persons attending the meeting noted that. And after the time passes, 1 week he has to say something. He wrote an history in the magazine explaining that he's not doing for 3 months at the company meeting, and no one has noted it. So the history about Emilie and Janiru being about, you never know, it may be possible. Okay, guys, let's gonna start for the questions we have today, and I think the first person that wants to start is our colleague Merul, that wants to tell something about the Linus Kernel 5.11. That's amazing. Go ahead.
So a lot of you might be aware, because I know most people who keep up with these free and open source news also like to know about Linux, which is the leading free and open source operating system. So recently, the Linux kernel 5.11 was made accessible to most rolling release and bleeding edge distributions. So in my distribution, when I upgraded, I was very excited to test some new functionalities that the Linux kernel 5.11 adds to the board. And one very major thing about it is something called syscall user dispatch. To understand what syscall user dispatch brings to the table, we'll first have to understand what limitations are we having running Windows applications on Linux right now. So a lot of applications on Windows are basically dependent upon kernel level calls which are made to Windows. And that cannot be successfully emulated with compatibility layers like Crossover or Wine at the moment, since if a syscall goes and Linux does not identify that syscall, then it is simply pointed to dev/null, and it does not execute properly. And that is a problem, because Windows apps would crash, or something like easy anti-cheat or some sort of anti-cheat or some sort of DRM, which requires those sorts of calls, can simply not run on a system like Wine. But what syscall user dispatch does is truly revolutionary. It's seriously game-changing. So what it would allow is that if there's a syscall being made to, let's say, Windows application, to a Windows kernel, so it's a Windows syntax call, then what it would do is that it would direct that to any application in the user space which has the capacity to process that. So let's say you have Wine installed. So Wine would be able to translate that to POSIX calls, which can be identified by Linux systems. This can open a whole host of benefits, like allowing Adobe applications to be finally run on Linux properly, and having some games running. It would not be that everything starts working right away, since this kernel version just adds the ability for syscall user dispatch, but the processing part of those syscalls is still onto Wine. So there's a company called Collabora who has been appointed by Valve, the company behind Steam, to develop something which would be able to translate those calls and into Linux level calls, so that applications can start to work. So we're expecting this to come out the moment Linux kernel 5.11 is available to Ubuntu, because right now it's not available to Ubuntu on as far as I know, since Ubuntu is actually the officially supported distro by Valve till now. So that is when we're expecting something being added to Wine, which would be able to translate these calls to Linux calls and allow these applications to run.
Amazing, but this seems to be an enormous task. There should be, I don't know, I don't want to mention a number, but it has to be lots of manpower to do that this way, Merul?
Yeah, it was actually supposed to come out with Linux kernel version 5.10, but then it got pushed back. So here they've actually added the ability to process those, and it was being hyped for a long time in the Linux community, since everyone wants to run some sort of proprietary softwares onto Linux, but they are not worth for them to shift to Windows. But this would allow for a lot of people who are on Windows just for those specific applications to switch over to a freer operating system that respects their privacy.
Why do you say that? What is the relationship with the Wine question? I mean, with the Wine emulator, because I'm showing all different images while you talk, and then I'm showing the Wine HQ page. What is the relationship? I mean, the first thing that will implement this are the emulators.
So the way it would work is that first, the kernel version already has syscall user dispatch now. So what is missing here is that Wine should be able to now process those calls which are being redirected to it. So earlier, what was happening was that those calls were not processed at all. So any Windows call which is made to the Linux kernel, it cannot be processed, right? So it was just being ignored. But now those calls would be redirected to any emulator, like Wine is not exactly an emulator, but like some compatibility layer like Wine, so that it can process those calls and then run Windows apps on Linux, basically, with way more increased compatibility than what we had earlier.
I understand curiously that the most interest from people is to running games, Windows games on Linux machines.
Yeah, it's primarily to get Adobe Suite running and to get some games with anti-cheat running.
Okay, so I mean the mainstream applications like the Adobe everything that they have, I don't know, dozens and dozens of different applications, and also for running games. Curious, because we are showing some screens, and always repeating the Valve collaboration with the Collabora and the games stuff. I mean, the name seems to be focused on the game. I'm showing now the typical Linux kernel image. You remember this one, that the penguin is in the middle, and you see plenty of the different amazingly number of modules the Linux kernel has, and it's the Linux kernel is an incredible piece of work. I'm going for another little story. Folk tale, is that the word? Folk tale?
I think so.
I think so. Okay, so you can see I'm wearing today the Google Summer of Code 15th anniversary. This was 2 years ago. This year we are on the 17th. Later I will talk about Google Summer of Code, and we have, when we celebrate the 10th anniversary of Google Summer of Code, we have a party with the Summit Mentor. It was in Silicon Valley, and we have a party in the San Jose Tech Museum. San Jose is a very important city of the Silicon Valley, where plenty of very big companies are located, and we have a party there. The first question is that we have a Liquid Galaxy running there in the first floor of the San Jose Tech Museum, if you have the opportunity to go there at some moment. And then also at this meeting we have a very important person with us. It was an invitee to Google for the meeting, and the person was Linus Torvalds. And we have the opportunity. I will try to look for a picture to show you later. We have the opportunity to talk a little bit with Linus. He make an introduction, and Linus Torvalds, not the other Linus that maybe is more famous now, coming from near Vancouver, Canada.
Yeah, he's in Surrey.
But I'm pretty sure this Linus is more famous than the real and original Linus. Not real, it's a name, but because he has plenty of followers on YouTube, and the other Linus do not want to appear in any place. For this reason, it was very special because usually he don't want to come to any kind of event. He's a very private person. It's a very cool stuff. I will try to look later for the picture. I will show it to you. Okay, Meryl, any other stuff you want to explain this episode?
No, that's it. Unless you have any questions. That's
okay,
it.
I think it's Janiru's turn, but Janiru just left the conversation. So I think we have to change gears and we will go back to Vancouver, Canada, where the other Linus lives. Is that place? Linus?
He's from a city that's a little bit south of Vancouver, but it's basically the greater Vancouver area.
It's a greater Vancouver area. So it's we can say he's from Vancouver, the other famous Linus tech tips. So, Emilie, go ahead with your explanation for this GCiers 7th episode. Go.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit today about RSS, which stands for Really Simple Syndication. So what RSS is, it's an open source protocol that allows website developers, content creators, all that jazz, to push content out to people in a well-documented format. And it's all open source. And it was created by Aaron Swartz, who you might more famously know as one of the Reddit co-founders. So to use RSS, the users download an RSS reader, and then they list all the feeds that they'd like to subscribe to. So it's a similar model to, say, following people on Twitter, only with a decentralized interface and more open source. So for example, most podcast services actually release episodes through RSS. So each episode shows up as an RSS item, and then consumers use whatever app on their phone to pull updates in. So that's the reader. So recently, there's been a revival of, I guess we call them indie vlogs that use RSS as an alternative to, or to complement their newsletters and to push like updates out to their subscribers. And I find this revival really interesting and would like to talk a bit more about it. So originally RSS enjoyed quite a bit of popularity. So it was a really easy way to share updates on blogs and created as a way for like people to choose what content they subscribe to on like the web. So it's kind of like, I don't know, Facebook or other social media. Google itself actually had an RSS app called Google Reader, which was one of the most well-known, well-used readers back in the day. So back in 2013, I think they shut it down.
It's on the screen now, but it's dead already, as you were saying.
Yeah.
It's dead. I used it in
2013.
daily. I used it for years and daily. It was amazing. Because also you don't have to install anything. It was fully web-based. Yeah.
Like Google decided to just shut it down because they said it had a dying user base and they wanted to focus more on other news sources and social circles like Google+, Google News. So because RSS is also kind of open source, more decentralized, there's no real opportunity to monetize each thing unless you open the link to it, which includes ads. And there's no real way to embed ads directly into the RSS unless the reader does that, which makes the monetization stream very unreliable. So this reading experience that RSS brought was not really what ad providers were looking for and not very money efficient. And it was also never really directly integrated into any major browsers back then, at least that I'm aware of. And right now there are tons of extensions. You can go on Chrome Web Store, you see like pages and pages of RSS. And I think Firefox has an RSS thing too, but I haven't looked into it. But I guess people were just simply unaware of it, so they didn't really use Reader that much. And then it died, which is unfortunate. But recently, I think there's been a lot of, I guess, revival and people are talking about the rise of RSS again, because people are looking for alternatives to social media and try to focus more on what they consume and what they read. For example, Feedly and Feedbin and a bunch of other RSS readers. I know there's Ina Reader, there's Maxcox, there's lots of other things have sprung up, and they bring a lot of new features that people are used to with social media, like saving things, embedded reading panes, and they have like favoriting, sorting features. So instead of just having a blog or a website that you have to go to every day, then you've added a way to pull in everything to one single source. you can get your Twitter updates, your YouTube subscriptions, your podcasts, all of this stuff in like one place, which people really like. So more and more people are.
Sorry. I was going to say, excuse me for interrupting you. I was going to say that we have our own RSS feed for this podcast, and it's at this moment on the screen because I have a distribution channel using Anchor FM, and our podcasts are also published in audio only, and the code is being showed on the screen, pure text that you can read it, so readable. And this is the XML, I will say, for a simple RSS, really simple syndication. That means RSS. Continue. Yeah.
So as you said, like more and more people are turning to RSS. Like it's kind of behind the scenes right now. Stuff like podcasts use it, but obviously they wouldn't show that to the user. They slap like a really nice interface onto it. But they're turning to RSS as an alternative to social media algorithms simply because they're easier to curate and they're more open because you choose directly what goes into it. So I guess for me, I really like that RSS lets me choose what I read and does so in an open source way that I can fully understand. It's honestly so easy to like do that. I've made my own RSS reader, and I know like plenty of people are just like building their own little terminal apps or whatever. So instead of having social media try to addict you and get money off you, RSS is a nice way for the indie web to create your own reading experience. So that's why I like it. And what are your thoughts?
So explain a little bit more about your own RSS reader. What is the language and what is the URL, or where can we get it, or explain?
So a couple months ago, I was kind of going through a phase where I just wanted to build something, but I didn't know what to build. And I was like, okay, I go on these websites every single day. What is a way I can pull these all together so I can stop going to like many like tabs and everything, right? So I was like, okay, let's make an RSS reader. And I wrote it in vanilla JavaScript. It's only like a couple hundred lines. It's very simple. And basically, I was just looking for a way to store my own bookmarks and get my own updates from like websites that I like. So I can put the link in. I'll put the link in the doc. Yeah,
please, on the doc, and we will share it later in the YouTube and the RSS of the audio podcast. It will be shared there.
I will say it's just really minimalistic, and it just contains the features that I personally use. And I think that's like a really nice thing about RSS, in that it's so easy to understand. It's so easy, like the XML, you can just parse it with like a DOM tree, right? So it's easy for people to understand, and they can like build whatever they want around it, which I think is really nice. Yeah,
that's the point. And it's nice because all the programs started with the necessity of the programmer to doing something. So you wanted a RSS, you develop your own RSS. Is that the way? I think everything started this way. Like Facebook, you know. He wanted a place to share notes with their colleagues, so I'm going to write a portal in 2 hours this night. And from now, we are there. Janiru, you are back, man. Sri Lanka's back.
Yeah, actually, my internet connection is extremely unstable these days. I'm getting kicked out of online classes, and yeah, that's awful.
Okay, do you remember that the folk tales were some kind of memory? So I was thinking it was CNET or it was Wired, and I say it was Wired. No, it was CNET, and the page is now on the screen. How I pre-recorded myself in video meetings for a week. Well, I think there are other programmers have to do, or the editors. Using programs to create virtual cameras and microphones, I set out to record myself in video meetings for an entire week without my colleagues noticing. So it was a daily meeting in this case, and no one noticed that he was not. And something like Emilie and Janiru today, this week, I am not sure they are pretty real.
Who knows?
Who knows?
That's the point about bots. You never know, because there are systems to know if you are talking with a bot. No. Okay, let's go back, because Janiru, you were first on the list, and you have something to explain to us this week about your experience being a trainee mentor at GSoC 2020. So go ahead, please explain.
Yeah, so in 2019 December, I participated GCI 2019, and I was able to become a finalist in Liquid Galaxy. So that was something, an amazing thing that ever happened to me. So after that, in 2020, about July, right?
No, early. We started in June.
Yeah, so Andrew, the main man, called me to join me as a training mentor, and like I was amazed because like I'm just 13 years old, and how can I be a mentor? So I just said okay. I wasn't sure that I will be able to be a training mentor in a international competition organized by Google. So after that, it was amazing. I was mainly in Otavio's project. It was about an Arduino controller, Liquid Galaxy controller, and Arduino is something I best known for years. So Arduino was fine for me, unless than Linux things. Actually, I'm not very good at Linux. Actually, Arduino and 3D are my stuff. So it felt amazing being a trainee mentor in an international competition organized by biggest tech company in the world. So I helped something for Otavio, like he had some connection issues with his servers and board, so I helped him for that, and I learned a lot of things from that, like becoming a mentor, and yeah, so the
So
projects.
I'm showing
Sorry.
in the screen is now the Otavio Arduino based controller for the Liquid Galaxy you mentioned, and he's showing how preliminary version with the case and how it runs to control the not the Earth but the Liquid Galaxy with 3 different laptops in front, and it was very nice.
And first of all, in the first meetings only Otavio joined, and after that Diego Riveros also came, and his project was called Symbol CMS. Actually, I didn't have any idea about it in the beginning, and yeah, so basically I liked Otavio's project because it was some sort of Arduino project, and I love Arduino.
On the screen is Diego. That I can make you an announcement now is that Diego is going to be mentored this year. Diego is not going to be a student, but he's going to be mentor this year. That this is one of the main purposes of the GSoC, that people do not come only to have an intern for a summer and get some money and do some code, but also to stay with the community. And in this case, Diego is going to be mentor with us this summer. On the screen is the Diego showing up the simple CMS application with one of the many videos he developed, and he's showing it was a very nice application, very well done, and it's having a very nice track of downloads, and also several people are starting to use this application as a base for creating a new applications, and it's possible that some students this year apply to this. We are calling something like simple CMS forks that will have the same core but doing another kind of activities and so on. So
What about
you
Otavio?
were the only one in this meeting being the trainee mentor, Janiru?
Huh?
You were
Sorry?
the only one in this podcast being a trainee mentor? I am asking.
Yeah, actually, Emilie and Merul was there, right?
Oh,
Dylan didn't
I don't
came.
know. Let's hear Merul.
I was partially there. I was not fully there since I had some issues with my internet being cut out because COVID was at peak at that time. So I was there for half the time, not the whole time.
Janiru is having some stuff. I muted him. So I remember, Merul, you have problems with the internet, and you cannot attend most of the meetings, but we appreciate you stay there. And Emilie, what do you have to say about this experience?
Yeah, I was also a trainee mentor for was the GCiers project, which was like a 3D digital thing, and then also Claudio's Happist project, I think. And it was really fun to get to know people and try to just sit in on their meetings and watch them, like the code basically go from like nothing to this really cool project in that end. So I'm looking forward to mentoring again this year and helping out where I can.
So I'm showing this Sarah or student Sarah developed it. This was really was an IPA. It was not an application. We develop sometimes IPAs or a kind of SDKs or whatever, and also other more general. We develop applications on top of Git Galaxy. So yes, this was. It is being shown on the screen. You will see it later, and it was a very curious project. And tell us, Emilie, how was your experience, your personal feeling about this summer? I don't know, you attended a lot of meetings.
Yeah. So basically, I think it was like a meeting or two a week, and people were just going through the code and like reviewing the changes and just talking through the next steps. And one of my personal, like my favorite parts of like the part that stuck with me the most was probably just watching them work through problems, because I know one of the things that Sarah was like trying to figure out if she wanted to project it with perspective or like orthogonal, and she had to like do all these complicated things with like the 3JS. And I thought it was really cool how they worked through the problem, and I got to see like how the mentors and the students work together, and I thought that was a really fun experience.
Yeah, I make a calculation, and I think I have to check, but we held more than 240 meets last summer for Google Summer of Code. Imagine that there were something like 8 different students developing project from many countries in the world. 7, it was 7, I don't remember. It was a lot of places and different time zones like this podcast. And usually at least you have to do a weekly meet with a student, but suddenly it depends on the moment of the project. It's not one but maybe 2, 3 meets every week with not one but 2, 3 persons sometimes. There were projects that has one. Every project has to have a main mentor, that is the one that is really assigned to this task, but then we have we call co-mentors, because they make some kind of help just in case the main mentor can't be there, or because they are specialized in some kind of technology. Imagine, for example, we have some persons like Mario Kernel that he's an specialist on cloud. Then we have people with large experience on Android or in other kind of stuff like TensorFlow or whatever. And then also last year we thought about this figure with you guys about the trainee mentor, and I think it was a nice experience for you. So I have to say that if you want, you are going to come back this year. I know that you 3 has answered my call that as administration of the program that you want to be too, but I have a very bad news, not bad news, sad news for you is that you can act as trainee mentor, but you cannot be on the platform. Let me Mirul asked this for me, and I was wrong. Google needs that mentors are 18 years and old. You still are.
I am.
You are. No, that was my question. You are 18 now?
Yeah.
So, Emilie, you are not?
I am very far from 18.
Yeah, I remember. How old are you?
Same.
I'm still 14. I'm turning 15 soon.
No problem. That's fantastic. You are 14, because this is the way we are. You are very young and you are here. That's the most amazing stuff. And Janiru, you?
I'm 14 and I will be 15 in October.
Perfect. So that was my question, Mirul. I didn't remember you right. So you are going to be mentors this year, official mentor, and not really mentor, but you are going to be official co-mentor, because I'm not leaving to you the hard task of being a mentor. This is I will say not responsibility, because you are a responsible guy, but it is plenty of work, and just in case you have some summer whatever stuff to do. But you will act as a legal mentor, and you will be able to show up I've been my mentor this year. A recognized mentor. But you, Emilie and Janiru, you know that you can show off also your work there in the Liquid Galaxy project organization, and it's almost as valid as this. Okay, so any other thing you want to comment about this Google Summer of Code past year experience, guys? Anything you want to share? No? So to end, I'm going to talk a little bit about Google Summer of Code for this year. I'm going to share the main screen of the project. We will share the different URLs on the YouTube comments and Anchor FM comments on the RSS. And we are in another situation that in our last podcast is that now organization has been announced and Liquid Galaxy is again on the Google Summer of Code. An applause. Janiru, wake up, make an applause. Okay, so what I want to say is that students are at this moment approaching us. We have now more than 70 students that has approached Liquid Galaxy project organization to have the opportunity for this year. And we are starting to have meets with them. We are starting to send, we already have sent several emails to all of them explaining what is the methodology we have. I'm going to show you the main page of the Liquid Galaxy and GSoC. We have different news. Then we remember to the students what are the prerequisites. Something they have to do before, some requirements they have to do before we can accept them for an option. They have to show us not only an email, not only a nice some kind of nice words and a nice resume in PDF. No, we need to see that they want to become for real on the project and they want to stay with us. And then this year we are asking for at least two different things. One thing is that we have a bootcamp made by our colleagues from Facens University in Sorocaba. They have the other Liquid Galaxy Lab there, Liquid Galaxy Lab Facens, and they develop a bootcamp with several pieces of tests they have to do. The very beginners are simply for the general Linux stuff, installing Ubuntu, doing very simple bash commands and so on. And then there are coming some more complicated situations with the Liquid Galaxy, and also then we ask for the students to install a real Liquid Galaxy. And in this case, we remember that we have a very nice documentation developed by Emilie and some of you, and also we have several videos, and also we have several images of virtual machines. You all have been working on this in the previous years, and we send this information to the students, and the students have to show us a video that they have already installed a Liquid Galaxy, at least in virtual machines. So at this moment, there are plenty of students are starting to develop these virtual machines, and I think you will correct me, Emilie, that any student has contacted you about this?
Oh, no, there was one student who contacted me for help because I think the problem with like the install script right now is that sometimes it doesn't expect that for example, you're not on Ethernet or like something. So I sent him back a command to fill in and fix the script, and he didn't get back to me, but I did say he should email me if he had more problems. So I assume he's okay.
I believe this is Rufino from Madrid. Is possible?
Yeah.
Rufino.
Yeah.
Rufino is a student that from University Región Carlos in Madrid that last year contacted us. I didn't know him. Contacted us to be on GSoC, and then suddenly, just a few weeks before he has to present all the stuff, he suddenly says, okay, I can do it this year because I have some kind of trouble with my university, with the studies, and I cannot do it. And I say, okay, so see you another year. And this year he's trying again, and he's on the task installing the Liquid Galaxy. He has a problem, and then Emilie is helping us on this stuff. She is receiving some questions. I hope you are not going to receive too much, but I prefer that those will be a lot of questions. I'm not pretty sure too much students will ask for. This will mean that one thing, that the documentation is already good, they are not having too much problems, or the bad thing that they are not installing the Liquid Galaxy, so they are not going to have the opportunity. You never know what's going on with the students, because, and also we have students from many places. We have students this year from Pakistan. We have, as usual, half of the students coming from India. And we have students coming from, let me remember, a few from Europe, a few from Spain, a few from Brazil, and then I remember some exotic places like Nepal, not exotic places, Nepal, also from one girl from, not too much girls, Emilie, always, that's a problem. We only have three girls, maybe, around 70 students, only 3 girls. One girl from Berkeley University in near San Francisco. Well, I don't remember, but this is the numbers. So what I want to explain is this thing. We are already on. Still, we have time for the students to present. Let me show a little bit the timeline for this year. Let me share the screens, and the timeline is here. We are in the previous period to presenting the proposals. The students are contacting us to present their proposals, and as I explained, students have to do the prerequisites we are asking for, doing the bootcamp and installing the Liquid Galaxy in virtual machines at least. And then from March 29th, student application period begins. This means that the students have to send us, or whatever other organizations they want. This year also we are 202 organizations in the Liquid Galaxy. 30 of them are new organizations, so congratulations to these ones. And then on April 13, a student application deadline is the deadline. So till April 13, the students can present their proposal to us. And then it starts some kind of I would say, bureaucratic stuff between us, the organizations, and Google, requesting slots and seeing what the students that presented us nice proposals will be the ones chose. And on May 17th, we're talking May 17th, is the day that the students receives the communication from Google that they are accepted or not accepted. And then coding officially starts on June 7th this year and finish on a little bit early on the week of 23, the last week of August. But there are a few components this year I want to explain. The very first thing is that all of the students that are listening to us and want to apply, please go to our website or the Google Summer of Code site and read carefully the instructions, because this year there are plenty of changes on Google Summer of Code. The first change is that this year everything is half. I mean, students will devote half of the time. Other years they stay doing the proposals, usually 3 months. This year will be something like 1.5 months. The period is also 2.5 months to develop this, not the usual 3 months. And also, of course, they work the half, they will get half the payment. This is something that happens. And there are plenty of other situations, like Google is accepting students that are not exactly on the university. Maybe they are going to, or just coming out, or they are also not in a regular university, but they are doing some kind of online training, and this Google will accept this year as a proof they are okay to enter the Google Summer of Code. So the most important thing is go to the web page and read carefully the instructions Google gives to all of us, because there are plenty of changes. So no more things. I want to show you to end some kind of publicity. We are, guys and people that are listening to us, that we are doing plenty of other programs, and we are now starting a new podcast, monthly podcast, that I think it will be also interesting for you all, for you three, and also people that is seeing us. The name of the podcast is the GD Show. Any of you knows what a GD is? Emilie? Mirul? Janiru, GDE, Google Developer Expert.
Developer.
Oh,
You know what is this, Emily?
yeah, I've heard briefly about them. Yeah.
Merul?
No, not in detail.
Okay, Janiru. Perfect.
Same
no
as
problem.
Mirror.
No problem. This is the way. So, on the screen now is the main screen of the show. I'm gonna play, and I will explain. GTE is one of the many programs Google has for developers, and it stands for Google Developer Expert. This is something like a couple of thousand. I don't remember. I think it's a couple of thousand persons on the world that are specialists on one technology. It has to be a Google technology. For example, you can be an expert on cloud. You can be an expert on web. You can be an expert on TensorFlow. You can be an expert on Android or whatever. So Google choose these persons, and Google gives them resources like money to go places and make public appearances, public talks, do workshops, and publish on social media and so on. I mean, doing publicity, not publicity, but extending the word about the technologies they use. And on the screen this moment is the main title of a show, new show that is called the GDE show, the Google Developer Expert show. I developed this with my colleague Victor from Spain, but he's living on San Francisco. He's a GDE on web technologies. He's GDE on HTML5. And what we are doing is a monthly podcast like this one that is a little bit different on the other ones. We do this in English, and also what we do is interview a GDE from the world, from many places. We are on our third episode. This is the third. And let me go a little bit in front. And we have Wahahat Karim. He's an Indian. So, Merul, you have to see it. The other person also, because for two reasons. Wahahat explained us his experience being a GDE. How do you go to get the point of being a GDE? And also his personal experience on technology, how he started on this field, and also a little bit about personal experiences of different kinds. For example, he's also on lockdown, and he has and his wife has a little toddler. I mean, a little person going around the house. And also, he already has wrote two books. He's a young guy. He's wrote 2 books for Android development, and you can get it on Amazon. And it's very impressive that you already has wrote 2 books. So I will leave the links to this other podcast in the comments in the YouTube or RSS and Anchor FM of this podcast. And this is all I want to explain to you. I hope you like this new content. It's in English, so it's understandable to you. The other content we do are in Spanish, so but this is in English, and it is very interesting for you because we are talking it's not deeply on the technology, but it's something more like a personal experience, talking a little bit about the technology, where the technology is actually, where it's going, and so on. So, any other comment you want to make, Janiru?
Nope.
Fantastic. Mirul?
No.
Emilie?
No.
So let's gonna end this, and next program will be recorded around in a month, and then Merul will be a recognized mentor in Google Summer of Code 2021. Yeah. He will be able to show us the email from Google saying, Merul, we think you want to be a mentor this year. Is it okay? So go there and fill out your information. That's nice. Emilie, you will be not official mentor, but you are a great person, very interesting in all the corners I can see, and also you too, Merul. So thank you all for collaborating with the Liquid Galaxy project, and we will see you in a month. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.